There's a Kreuger giving nightmares to Russian President Vladimir Putin and the general staff of the Russian armed forces. No, it's not the latest incarnation of Freddy Kreuger, the terrifying antagonist of A Nightmare on Elm Street slasher film franchise. And while it's not a glove made of knives, it's something that can cut just as deep into Russian attacks. The Kreuger 100 and its latest upgrade, the Kreuger 100XR, are part of an innovative new anti-drone system from Sweden that has been designed to overcome two of the biggest challenges in anti-drone warfare: affordability and scalability. By solving that equation, they have the potential to dramatically shift the odds on the battlefields of eastern Ukraine in Ukraine's favor and plug the holes in Europe's anti-drone defense layers. Let's take a closer look at the Kreuger system and what it means for the ever-evolving battle between drone and counter-drone systems in Ukraine and beyond. The Kreuger 100 is a lightweight, battery-powered drone interceptor intended for both military and civilian applications. It was first unveiled in late March 2025 by Swedish startup Nordic Air Defense, or NAD for short. The drones being used in Ukraine are typically divided into 5 different groups based on their size, weight, range, and roles. Group 1 type drones are the smallest kind, weighing less than 20 pounds with an altitude of up to 1,200 feet and a speed of below 100 knots or 115 miles per hour. These small, portable drones are generally used by small units for short-range reconnaissance and surveillance because their small size and noise profile make them difficult to detect. Group 2 type drones are the next smallest type. They weigh between 21 and 55 pounds and have an altitude of up to 3,500 feet and a speed of up to 250 knots or 287 miles per hour. These medium-range tactical drones offer extended endurance and payload capacity over Group 1 drones. As such, they're capable of acting as kamikaze attack drones or as persistent surveillance near military installations or urban areas, and are frequently used for border patrol and battlefield monitoring. Group 3 type drones are much heavier than Group 1 or 2, weighing up to 1,320 pounds. Although their maximum speeds are similar, up to 250 knots, they can operate at much higher altitudes, up to 18,000 feet. Their larger size mean they can carry heavier sensors and weapons, and so they're often found in service at the battalion or brigade level, not just by individual units. So in this deadly scenario, the Kreuger 100 and the Kreuger 100XR were primarily created as a solution to combating Group 1 to 3 type drones. There are also 2 more categories for larger drones, Group 4 and 5, differentiated mainly by the altitudes at which they operate. Both types weigh above 1,320 pounds and can operate at higher speeds. However, Group 4 type drones operate at altitudes of up to 18,000 feet, while Group 5 drones operate above that level. The lower-flying Group 4 type drones include the US's MQ-1 Predator. It typically operates with runway support, carries advanced sensors or weapons, and is integrated into broader command systems. Group 5 drones, which include the US's RQ-4 Global Hawk, MQ-4C Triton, and RQ-180, are high-altitude, long-endurance platforms, providing strategic surveillance and global strike reach. Their ability to operate at high altitudes means they can operate in controlled airspace, provide persistent surveillance over vast areas, and support national-level intelligence. 2 more Russian drones in the Kreuger's crosshairs are the troublesome Orlan-10 reconnaissance drone and the Russian-made Geran analogues of the Iranian Shahid-136 loitering munition. The Orlan-10 is one of Russia's main reconnaissance drones, used prolifically for tactical reconnaissance, artillery correction, and electronic warfare. Its weight of approximately 40 pounds and altitude of up to 16,500 feet put it at the intersection of the Group 2 and 3 drone classifications. Russia's drone, artillery, and FAB glide bomb bombardments of frontline Ukrainian positions are enabled in no small part by the presence of these drones. As NAD CEO Carl Rossander explains, the most dangerous drones on the battlefield aren't the first-person drones dropping bombs. They're the ones that transmit GPS coordinates for artillery strikes. We need fast, affordable ways to neutralize them. The Geran 2 is, of course, the primary weapon used in Russia's nightly long-distance strikes inside Ukraine. It's technically a loitering munition and is often described as a kind of cruise missile due to its one-way attack nature rather than as a drone. However, it fits neatly within the parameters of a Group 3 type drone due to its weight of up to 440 pounds and cruising altitude of 200 to 13,000 feet. In Ukraine, the majority of the traditional GPS-guided and fiber-optic-controlled FPV drones being used by both Ukraine and Russia fall into Group 1. Despite their high tactical impact, they rarely weigh more than 20 pounds, with most weighing a fraction of that, even including a 10-pound payload. They also almost always operate at below 1,200 feet and at speeds less than 100 knots. Russian fiber-optic variants, like the Russian Kniaz, Vandal, and Novgorodsky, have a greater range than standard Group 1 type drones, 12 to 19 miles or longer. However, since their weight and altitude limits fall within the Group 1 specification, they're regarded as a special subset of Group 1 drones, rather than assigned to a higher category. Ukraine's FPV drones have long been a serious thorn in the side of the Russians on the front lines. For example, it's estimated that around 2/3 of Russia's 3,000 to 4,000 tank losses during the war have been inflicted by these small, cheap FPV drones. However, due to its greater industrial capacity and particularly its much closer relations with China, Russia has steadily caught up to Ukraine in production of standard FPV drones. It also holds a significant advantage in fiber optic drones, which it pioneered. That gap is set to grow, with China sending 328,000 miles of cable to Russia in August, while Ukraine received just 72 miles, a 4,556 to 1 disparity. The increasing proliferation of these drones has become a growing problem for Ukraine, as they can't be brought down using standard electronic warfare systems, which jams the signals that control and guide the standard FPV drones. As we'll see shortly, the Kreuger system offers a potentially game-changing solution. To be sure, Ukraine has a multi-layered, varied and effective network of anti-drone defenses to combat these drones, and regularly reports bringing down 90% or more of Russia's Geran swarms. The problem is these solutions are often completely unsustainable economically, and that's one of the key issues the Kreuger system addresses. Traditional FPV and fiber optic drones cost from as little as a few $100s to a few $1,000s. As Russia has discovered, it's completely unsustainable to lose multi-million-dollar tanks, armored vehicles, air defense systems and the like to weapons that cost a small fraction of that price. However, the converse is just as true. It quickly becomes unsustainable to bring down inexpensive drones with anti-drone weapons that cost orders of magnitude more and take a lot longer to manufacture than attacking drones. Geran drones are estimated to cost anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000 each. Even if 9 out of 10 are shot down during Russia's nightly raids, a single Geran hitting a Ukrainian power transformer, gas storage facility or oil refining facility can cost Ukraine millions. All AN-10s are in the same ballpark, estimated to cost between $87,000 and $120,000 per unit. Ukraine's powerful Western-supplied air defense systems such as the US-made Patriot and Vampire systems and the German Iris-T system have proven adept at shooting down the relatively slow-moving flying lawnmowers, as the Gerans have become somewhat less than affectionately known in Ukraine. However, there are only so many systems and interceptor missiles used by these systems available, and they cost a small fortune in comparison to the cost of the drones they're bringing down. A single Iris-T interceptor costs around $450,000, and a Patriot PAC-3 missile costs around $3.7 million. Even a single, shoulder-mounted Stinger missile costs around $480,000. These are still cheap compared to the $12.7 million it costs for a single THAAD interceptor missile, the best system on the planet at present. But still, it's simply not feasible to use any of these systems to face down continuous drone swarms of 100 to 500 Gerans nightly. Only around 500 PAC-3 missiles are produced annually at the moment, although the manufacturer Lockheed Martin is intending to ramp that up to around 2,000 missiles per annum due to surging demand. Exact production rates for the Iris-T and Vampire aren't clear, but they're believed to be in the range of hundreds of missiles per year. Russia is estimated to have ramped up production of Gerans to around 6,000 per month, bringing the cost down from an average of $200,000 per unit to around $70,000 in the process. It also produces around 100 all AN-10s, as well as anywhere from 50,000 to around 170,000 FPV and fiber optic drones per month. Ukraine would exhaust the entire stockpile of expensive Western interceptor missiles within weeks, and even if it shot down every incoming drone, they'd likely just keep coming. So these high-end solutions work, but they're anything but sustainable. As NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte puts it, it's unacceptable to shoot down drones costing $1,000 or $2,000 with missiles that may cost $500,000 or even $1 million. That's why in Ukraine and beyond, the focus has shifted to anti-drone systems that are a whole lot cheaper, much easier to mass produce, and not nearly as dependent on China for their component parts. The Kreuger 100 and 100XR fit the bill succinctly on all three counts. The original 100 version is a low-cost mini-missile which uses kinetic force to knock out drones as opposed to an explosion. In essence, it uses infrared sensors to hunt down hostile drones and ram them out of the sky at high speed, making it much safer to use in civilian areas than explosive projectiles. The XR version has a longer range, a thermal seeker, a warhead, and a longer loiter time, but is based on the same principles and offers the same basic benefits as the original. First among those benefits is the cost. At an anticipated price of less than $5,000 per missile, the Kreuger flips the economic equation of shooting down Gerans and all AN-10s on its head. 1 or 2 dozen of these mini-missiles can be produced for the same price as a single Geran or all AN-10. At that price, they're still not really sustainable against Russian FPV drones, which cost between $300 and $650 each. Russian fiber optic drones are estimated to cost between $1,000 and $2,000 each, due to the relatively high cost of the fiber optic cable and the spools which unwind the cable as the drone flies. Still, $5,000 is definitely cheaper than $450,000 for a Vampire missile, and if shooting down the drone saves a tank worth millions from being hit, it's well worth it. especially when you consider that unlike the interceptor missiles, NAD should soon be churning them out en masse. The relatively low cost of the mini-missiles and the ability to scale production of them quickly are both largely down to the unique design features of the Kreuger 100. Traditional interceptors rely heavily on hardware such as onboard sensors, cameras, and propulsion systems like fuel-powered engines, which are heavy and can be expensive. Moreover, many of the components are primarily manufactured in China, which is becoming increasingly belligerent about supplying these components for military or dual use to Western nations, and especially to Ukraine. The Kreuger solves these issues by using pulsed propulsion and software-based flight control to track and intercept targets. Unlike traditional jet engines, the Kreuger's propulsion system is entirely electric, battery-powered and driven by a rear-mounted propeller. This setup allows for precise power modulation, enabling short, high-intensity bursts of thrusts that mimic the efficiency of pulsed propulsion while maintaining a simple, lightweight design. The battery-driven motor generates enough output to push the interceptor to speeds exceeding 270 km per hour in civilian configurations, with higher speeds achievable in military variants. This electric propulsion architecture dramatically reduces maintenance needs and production costs, making the Kreuger ideal for rapid, large-scale deployment against drone threats while retaining high maneuverability and responsiveness through its software-based control system. The second feature that makes the Kreuger system affordable, scalable, and relatively China-proof is its software-centric architecture that eliminates much of the conventional hardware used in traditional systems. Instead of expensive mechanical components that regularly need repair, upgrades, or replacement, the system employs advanced aircraft control algorithms that guide the interceptor through controlled aerodynamics. The 100 version includes an infrared tracking system capable of operating 24/7 in varying weather conditions, including through cloud cover and at night, while, as noted earlier, the new XR also sports a thermal seeker. Moreover, the system is modular, meaning it can be adapted for mission-specific payloads and launcher configurations suited to the specific operational environment. Concept imagery presented by NAD shows that the missiles can be launched in several ways, from a handheld cannon, a rifle-like device, launch crates that contain projectiles, or even vehicle-mounted systems. This versatility and flexibility is likely to be music to the ears of Ukrainian forces both on the front lines and in the rear, defending critical infrastructure from Geran swarms. Instead of having one exquisite sensor and missile bubble, they'll have thousands of tiny, smart interceptors that can be mass-deployed in a variety of ways across a sector and updated via software overnight. Indeed, the guidance, target discrimination, and interception logic live in code that can be updated remotely rather than in machinery. That makes the Kreuger more adaptable and robust than many more of its expensive anti-drone cohorts. The war in Ukraine has long been a game of cat and mouse, as each side introduces new countermeasures to enemy weapons, and countermeasures against those countermeasures as the war evolves. With the Kreuger, the system doesn't need to be withdrawn from service to be upgraded in a workshop. Every time a new Russian countermeasure appears, a Russian drone changes its behavior, or a new engagement profile needs to be installed. The system can be patched and upgraded remotely and continuously with much less effort, expense, and risk. This software-centric approach also greatly reduces dependence on China for the Kreuger's production. China's increasingly tough line on supply of drone components and fiber optic cable to Ukraine, as well as their tight grip on supplying rare earth minerals crucial to the US's high-tech defense industry, highlight how vulnerable Western military supply chains are to over-reliance on Chinese products. NAD, for its part, is deeply wary of over-reliance on both China and the US and is accordingly working to build a European supply chain. As military analyst Wes O'Donnell puts it, they're avoiding Chinese components where feasible, pulling parts from Southeast Asia and lining up European suppliers for the more sensitive bits. That matters politically and from a sanctions embargo resilience perspective. No one wants to be halfway through a product ramp-up only to discover a supplier adrift in bad diplomacy. As for the specs of both the Kreuger 100 and 100XR, not too much is known at present. However, according to NAD, the system has a mid-altitude engagement capability of up to 13,000 feet, roughly the cruising altitude of a Geran and significantly more than that of Russia's FPV and fiber optic drones. The civilian version is understood to be able to reach speeds of around 168 miles per hour, faster than Russia's Geran 2, Orlan 10s, FPV and fiber optic drones, with the military versions being used in Ukraine capable of even higher speeds. The missiles appear to be 7.5 to 12 inches long, hence their description as mini-missiles. Over and above their use in Ukraine, where, judging from reports, it's the warhead-carrying XR rather than the purely kinetic 100 version that's being used, the system has been designed with the defense of civilian infrastructure in mind. In civil context, the Kreuger 100 could be deployed to protect airports, nuclear power plants, ports, government buildings, and maritime vessels, with its portability allowing it to be rapidly deployed in diverse locations. This has become increasingly topical of late, with the growing number of drone infiltrations alleged to be Russian in origin causing much concern across Central Europe. In particular, NATO has emphasized the growing frequency of unauthorized drone activity in Sweden, including surveillance attempts over critical infrastructure and foreign nationals operating drones near government facilities. These examples underscore what the company identifies as gaps in Sweden's air defense coverage, which it estimates currently protects only about 5% of national territory and primary military installations. In Sweden and the NATO states on the so-called Eastern Front against Russia, the Kreuger 100 could be the missing link in rapidly ramping up counter-drone defenses against these drone incursions. Due to their low cost, nations like the Baltic states with limited budgets could rapidly and effectively cover forward units, depots, and critical infrastructure without busting the bank. Plus, because the 100 version doesn't explode per se, the potential for civilian casualties from falling drone debris is greatly reduced. Both in Ukraine and across these nations, the Kreuger can be quickly embedded into an agile and multi-layered defense setup that includes the other relatively low-cost counter-drone measures Ukraine in particular has already established. These include electronic warfare and jamming systems, machine guns, drone interceptors, anti-drone netting strung across logistics routes and military positions, and even the humble shotgun. Of course, no system is without its potential flaws, and there are several that the Kreuger will have to overcome to be adopted as a key component of Europe's counter-drone defenses. The more a technology proliferates, the more likely it is to fall into enemy hands eventually. That means it could be reverse-engineered, countered electronically, and even used against the forces deploying it. Even with a fully European supply chain, that chain can be hijacked, and supposedly disposable interceptors could be adapted into missiles by reprogramming the seeker and attaching a more powerful warhead. Electronic warfare and spoofing are also real issues that the Kreuger will have to overcome due to the software-centric nature of the system. Jamming, thermal decoys, and spoofed feeds could well blunt intercepts. However, NATO is fully aware of this potentiality, which is why updates and sensor fusion are central to the design. The automated target acquisition also raises legal and ethical questions. As O'Donnell puts it, who do you hold accountable when the effector commits a war crime on its own? It's not clear at this point what doctrinal and human-in-the-loop safeguards have been or will be put in place to ensure the Kreuger kills what it's meant to and doesn't turn into a dystopian nightmare like something out of a Black Mirror episode. Still, if the Kreuger proves to be cheap, effective, and easily scalable, it could make a critical difference in the defense of Ukraine and become a concrete step in the push for full-stack European autonomy in the drone defense niche. Factories, jobs, and sovereignty could follow in its wake, not to mention superior drone defenses, and Putin will certainly have nightmares about that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you don't miss out on the latest developments in drone warfare and all other important military matters. And thank you as always for watching.